Welcome back to the Bitcoin Treasuries podcast. I'm Tim Kotzman. I'm here with Adrian Pruett. Adrian, thanks for joining us in the New York studio today.
Thank you for having me. I mean, if I'm being honest, this is a little surreal for me because I've spent the last 2.5 decades on the other side of the cameras.
Yeah.
But here I am.
You're on the other side.
You sound okay?
Is this thing on?
Is this thing on? I have to follow Ed Jeline, and he was hilarious. So it's a lot of pressure here. Put on a show, give the people what they want.
Yeah. Well, what is your background? Like, what is your personal story?
Let's see. When I was 13 years old, I got this crazy idea in my head. It was like I wanted to go make movies. And I lived in a really small town in the Florida Keys, actually. We were like way down south. And no one had ever, my grandfather grew up in the hills of West Virginia, was a, fighter pilot in World War II and became a missionary doctor in Africa. My dad was a little small town doctor. And they were like, what are you talking about? You're going to go make movies. I was like, yeah, this is just what I want to do. And that was it. I was like, literally like, just like a rocket. I went to film school. I moved out to Los Angeles. I didn't know anybody. I didn't even know anybody west of the Mississippi when I went west. I just was like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to figure it out. And just did it the way that everyone else had always done it. You start at the very bottom. You start as like a production assistant or cleaning floors. I mean, in my case, I started as like a technical assistant. I kind of went the route of camera and lighting. And I just loved crafting the images. I loved being on set. I mean, the first time I ever was on a real movie set, I was in college, actually. It was an independent film. A professor of mine got a $500,000 grant from Panavision. And Panavision came and I was like a sophomore in college, and they trained us on how to use the cameras. And then we would go, and I would go to class all day and we would shoot all night. And I did that for a month. And it was like every day I was so exhausted, but I just loved it. I loved the work. I loved, this strange process of, all of these people coming together and with all these different skill sets, all these different passions, all these, different aspects of storytelling. And we would all just unify on this tiny little image, this one little frame. And all of just so much effort going into it, so much love and so much care, and it just to me there was like nothing better. So that's really what I did, and the industry kind of changed and morphed from when I first got in. We had independent film, and then there was like big film, and then there was kind of like a lot of TV stuff. But we didn't have streaming. Streaming kind of came about in sort of the middle of my career. And then all of a sudden, independent film really died, and movies became massive experiences, and TV sort of took the role of what independent movies had kind of been. This like, so stories really shifted, and everything sort of evolved. Technology just changed the whole shape of the industry. And I think along the way, I started to think a lot about my future. What did it look like, and where did I want to be? What did I want to be in life? What did I want to be doing? What was the kind of work I wanted to, kind of focus on? And I discovered Bitcoin in 2017, and really didn't sink my teeth into it till kind of after COVID. And even then, I still didn't really kind of get it. But I really saw it as like a vision of the future in some ways. I just didn't know what my role was. And, now I realize that Bitcoin gives you the opportunity to do whatever you want. If you're really, passionate about it and stay involved, get involved, and you try to kind of help bring people in. It's just like this incredibly mutually beneficial relationship you have with something that's so profound and is going to change the world forever. So it's really exciting to sort of be on the front lines.
Can you tell us what makes a story? Like, is it a skill? Can you walk us through telling a story?
Oh my gosh, what a good question. I feel like we talk so much about storytelling. Everywhere you look, everybody's like, tell a good story. You've got speakers, public speakers and people giving presentations, they have to be master storytellers. And if you're going to be selling products on Instagram, you've got to be able to wind a good story, engross people, like pull them in. I'm here talking about storytelling. And, I think you have to look at art, like how do we define art? And I heard once that, you define art, the great art reveals universe, and I thought that was really like a wonderful way to approach it. Great art reveals universe. So, story is a way of connecting us to universe and connecting us to purpose, connecting us to a sense of place, exploring these great questions, these profound questions. Why are we here? What are we doing? What's the point of all of this? And so, I think great storytelling has intention. Great storytelling comes from a place of vulnerability, comes from a place of honesty. And it also is about like seeing things for what they are, not necessarily for what you want them to be, the core of something. Why is it important? And everything is important. Everything has a purpose. And so sometimes I think great storytelling is just stripping away all of these expectations, all of maybe these other layers that we put on things unnecessarily, and really getting to like the heart, why does this matter? And then how do we share that in a meaningful way that's going to connect people to universe? That sounds crazy, doesn't it? Are you sure? You're shaking your head. All right.
What are your thoughts around information versus entertainment? And maybe do they each have a place? Should they work together or not? Do they each kind of have a separate role? Like, this is for informational purposes only. Right. And then it's like you go home and you're like, oh, now I'm going to be entertained so I can turn my brain off. And you're not really trying to take in information from like an educational standpoint.
I heard somebody recently say that in the very near future, we're not going to be advertising to people. We'll be advertising to bots, and this breaks all of Hormozi's models. His book's going to be irrelevant here in just a few years. But if you think about it, it's really the world we're moving towards. The vibration of information, bots and agents out there collecting data and collecting information, ads changing, shifting, high frequency advertising, all these things. So information is the base layer of technology. It absolutely is incredibly important. Entertainment a lot of times is about like tuning out. It's about disconnecting. It's about having an experience, and we can't discount that. I mean, that's very important. We also live in a world where entertainment and information is constantly getting combined and reshaped. And that's how a lot of information gets transposed, in this kind of entertaining way. I think that most people connect to the world through laughter. I think that most people connect to the experience of the world maybe like through fear, through sort of like very base level emotions. And so entertainment is a really important way to connect to people. The information behind it, though, is ultimately, that is the message, that is the intention behind it. And so it's really important to protect that, and hopefully it has meaning, and hopefully it is trying to make the world a better place. It is trying to steer people towards good decisions. For instance, Bitcoin. We talk a lot about Bitcoin, and there's so much incredible information about Bitcoin. There's just so many remarkable books, remarkable documentaries, incredible podcasts. I mean, how many hours of remarkable podcast material about Bitcoin exist? And yet, we go on the streets and we talk to people about Bitcoin. If we're in, our dinner at home, people still don't understand it, And so then the question has to become, are we missing something here? Are we trying to push the information without really coming at it through an entertaining lens, And maybe that's something that we should try. Maybe we should think more about how to entertain people as a way to present Bitcoin and bring this information into their lives, So I think it's really important, but the intention behind it is always the most important thing.
You want to touch on some of the stuff that we're working on, whether it's a show or a conference, and how you're kind of approaching all of that from a storytelling and then operational maybe point of view? What's your vision for the conference?
I think ultimately what makes my job fun most of the time is like working with people that really want to do something special and do something different. And when you and Ed first approached me about the conference, we were like, hey, we want to do something really different here. We need to do something people will never forget. And that means shaking it up. That means approaching this thing completely differently. And that's my language. I mean, that's my love language, I think, is like, how do I shake this up? How do I put my signature on this? Where's my access point? How can I do something that people really look to as being like the bleeding edge of whatever it is? And so for the conference world, I'm like, great, never done a conference, have no expectations. I have no set way of doing it. So let's come in and let's do something really, really radical. Setting it in the round is like awesome. That's a great starting point. Hey, okay, now let's put cameras 360 degrees around the room. Let's do that. Let's do something so challenging. Let's make it so the audience can just interact with people up on stage at any point. We can do Q&As, and they could last 10 minutes or they could last 45 minutes or an hour. We're not going to create a set schedule. There's no real set blocks. We're going to keep this thing loose and raw. And hey, let's have a steady cam going around the room and taking out, our guests up onto stage. And we're going to broadcast all that back to the internet live, and try not to make any catastrophic mistakes along the way. Like, that is fantastic, So that's our approach. Our approach, I think, is to do something really, really special, incredibly unique, and just shake it up and have fun. Give people an experience that they've just never had before with this kind of format.
You want to speak to the show that we're working on without giving too much away?
Yeah. Well, here, we're talking about entertainment. We're talking about information. And I have felt like, in knowing you, in real life, IRL, I think you had like a tremendous sense of humor. From the first time I met you, I remember you just had this sort of like very dry, sort of stoic, deep streak of humor. And I was going, gosh, you never really have a chance to show that. It's like you give people this platform and you create such a safe space for people. Like, even now, I feel really comfortable here for some reason. It's a little surreal. I got to be honest with you. There's like little moments where I'm like, what do I do with my hands kind of thing. But I'm hanging in there, and it's because of you. You just make me feel very, very good. I'm sure so many other people have had that same experience. So that's great. But it's like, Tim needs his time. Where's Tim's time? Where's Tim's moment in the sun? So yeah, I know I kind of came at you with like, I get this idea for the show. It's the Tim Kotzman Show. And we're going to have these really funny little segments with you where it's like a real behind the scenes look of of putting together the podcast in just the funniest ways possible. We're going to take it out of the studio. We're going to hit the streets. We're going to, weave in some of Tim's thoughts in there, Tim's talks, Tim's time. It's going to be really, really funny, I think. I'm so curious what people are going to think. Full disclosure, we shot a little bit already. So
yeah,
this isn't just a dream.
Yeah. We're now walking through Times Square and asking people about MicroStrategy is definitely a unique experience that I think everyone should have at least once in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. The reactions were just priceless.
Yeah.
All across the entire stretch of real estate there, like shoulder to shoulder with the camera and the law of trying to interview people. Did you have fun?
Yeah.
Really?
Did you?
It was hot.
It's August in New York.
Yeah. It got heavy after a while. But no, it was really fun. It was really fun. I was so happy that you just kind of took that leap of faith and said, hey, I'm going to trust you, even though, this is not really on brand for, Bitcoin Treasuries podcast. But, yeah, you really leaned into it and just kind of gave it 100%. I was really impressed. I was throwing a lot of different direction at you all the time, redo that. What are you doing? Put your hands down.
Appreciate the direction.
Of course.
Bitcoin custody is evolving, and OnRamp leads this change with multi-institution custody, eliminating single points of failure. Instead of one institution or complex private keys, OnRamp secures your Bitcoin in a segregated, cold storage, multi-sig vault backed by 3 independent, institutional-grade custodians. No single custodian can move funds by themselves, providing an unprecedented level of security that traditional custody solutions simply can't match. Protected by a $100 million Lloyd's of London insurance policy, all transactions are fully auditable on-chain, never rehypothecated, and executed only at your explicit direction. This means complete transparency and control over your assets at all times. Beyond custody, OnRamp delivers comprehensive Bitcoin financial services, including lending, trading, inheritance planning, IRAs, and more. OnRamp functions as your private banking partner, coordinating key holder activity, removing technical burdens, and providing a personalized, trust-minimized experience tailored to your specific wealth preservation goals. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or an experienced holder, OnRamp's approach helps secure generational wealth with unmatched security and peace of mind. Visit OnRampBitcoin.com today to learn more, sign up, or book a free consultation with their team of Bitcoin custody experts. Hey guys, today's episode is brought to you by StampSeed. If you're in cold storage, you know how important it is to protect your seed phrase. That's why I recommend you head over to stampseed.com and check it out for yourself. This seed phrase storage device is one solid piece of titanium. There are no loose pieces, and you can hammer your seed phrase in letter by letter. When you go to stampseed.com, use promo code TIM15 for a 15% discount across the website. That's TIM15. Join us at the Wynn in Las Vegas, February 23rd through the 26th, 2026, for Bitcoin for Corporations. Use code KOTZ when you grab your tickets at strategy.com, and we'll see you there. Maybe we can go back to telling a story for a moment.
Yeah,
Can
please.
you walk us through how you conceptually think through it?
Yeah.
Including, like, what are the top topics from, like, I think of it maybe more pragmatically, like site selection. Maybe you think through it a different way.
I always start with research. I spend more time researching than anything else. If it's a commercial, there's a commercial out there that catches my eye, I'm ripping it and pulling frames. I'm watching it without the sound. I'm trying to deconstruct why it works. Like, how long is each edit? What kind of editing techniques are they using? What kind of fonts? And so for me, everything is about research. I start from a place of like, okay, what is this thing? Who are we speaking to? And what other things have I seen, that I really like or that are a great starting point that I can use to like build from. And so the research is really, really important. The team is everything on anything. It's like any business. I heard someone say like making movies or shooting commercials, like starting a business every a few months. And that really is, it's like you're spooling up. You have to find a great team of people that have great chemistry and great ideas, and leave their egos at the door. And it's just about the finished product. So that's like a critical component. When you get into the nuts and bolts of it, why are you here? Is it just because it's available and you can get it cheap? Or, is this space, is this room, is this location for this thing that you're making like the right place? And sometimes you're at the mercy of the budget, of your restrictions. Other times you can dream a little bit and you can invent it thing, and that becomes really fun and exciting. Like, okay, what can we do here? Sometimes, you can still be inventive. You have to be creative, every step of the way. But, I get stuck, and I'm the first one to be like, hey, what do you think? And what do you guys think? What can we do here? How do we bring this to life? I think it's really important to always be conscious of like the effort, and protect the effort, protect the money, protect everything that's going into it, so that you're never squandering something. Get to the end of it and it feels valuable. It's not about just throwing money at problems. It's never the answer. But to make something elevated, you really have to have the right people. You need to have the right tools, and you need to have the right time. And I think that's sort of the difference, maybe, than just content. A lot of times, coming from a lot of the work I've done, it's really about trying to create something that lasts, that can stand the test of time. Something that still has relevance, even if it's a commercial, even if it's something that is just going to be seen for a few months and disappear. You still want people to look back on it, 10 years down the road or 15 years down the road and say, like, man, those guys are they really did something special there that hit me, and you don't always have control over it. I've done a lot of work that I really would prefer that people never see. But you try to get better, and you just learn from your mistakes every single time. And the story, the core of the story is that genesis, that heartbeat. Why are we doing this? Why is this important? I've been working with a lot of companies recently, and trying to help crystallize this messaging, and not in an advertising type model. We're not creating funnels. We're really extrapolating like the identity, that core of like, why is this important to us on a personal level? How does that then carry over into our company? And then how are we building materials so that people can understand that? They can see that, they can feel that. Sometimes that's through like founders videos, which I really love. It allows you to just kind of do the deep dive into the experiences of the founders, what makes them tick. And if you look at something like Chef's Table, things are presented so beautifully, but it's the hardships a lot of times. It's the obstacles. It's the most difficult things that people are willing to share, that create that vulnerability, right? And then the intention is to share that and to connect with people. Even things like educational materials can still have depth. They can still have intention. You can still reach to try to connect with the viewer in a very real way, and not just look at it as an opportunity to get some cheap advertising, but to try to create something lasting and meaningful.
Is there a way that you would describe the it factor, or whatever you would call it, about, at least for me, I don't even know that I can remember like the exact frequency or the exact video, but when I think of a company, of a brand like Apple, or I think of a company like Google that has these like end of year videos that are kind of inspirational, kind of nostalgic. You have that nostalgia maybe kind of sprinkled in. What is it about that makes it what it is? Is that what every brand is trying to do and only a couple of them get there? Or a lot of brands are not even trying to do like a Apple sort of impression, if that makes any sense?
I think that is like the vision setting, and a lot of times that's, the internal vision setting, the internal, excitement generating like hey, we're doing really important stuff here. We're changing the world, and, we have a vision and we have a roadmap, and we're all going in this direction. it's really important. I think internally and externally, those things really have to be working together. And you're trying to get the best talent. You're trying to, stay ahead of every other company. And whether you're Google or not, I mean, Blockbuster was one of the biggest companies, in America, and in a matter of less than a decade, they were gone, because they just didn't quite see the future coming, the way that Netflix did and could. That is happening with such frequency right now, and this is something that I've been, I guess, thinking a lot about is that, we're sort of living through this remarkable moment in time where tradecraft and trade has sort of gone away. Look, if your plumbing goes out at 4:00 in the morning and, you get a leak on a Sunday, or, your plumbing explodes in your house, you're going to get, AI is not going to fix that for sure, but, when some kid, in Brazil can like vibe code an app that can, make $100 million, just like on a $500 laptop, it's really changing the game very, very, very quickly. So companies have to be thinking about that. We all kind of have to be thinking about this new world. At the same time, we're dealing with the death of prestige, the demise of the certificate that validates you, the demise of that, that relationship that you might have had through, a clique you're in, a college fraternity, some type of, family relationship. And, Hollywood is considered, I think, one of the most like nepotistic businesses that there is. And, it's a very closed circle, and prestige is everything. Prestige really, really mattered. And what we're kind of experiencing is like, it just has gone away. The institutions are really going away. These things are vanishing right in front of us. And there's just a remarkable opportunity for people that want to just create and just make things and build. And the best part of it is it gives you a chance to think less about like who you want to be and what you want to do. What's the impact you want to have in the world? The barriers to entry of making a massive impact are being removed, and Bitcoin is obviously a major part of that, I believe, and that's why I think it's so exciting to be in this space and to be doing what we're doing, to be creating for Bitcoin, inside Bitcoin, for the world is like such a fun thing, and it feels really important. It feels really special. And, I don't know if Google will ever get that, I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens. I'm curious to see if at some point Google say like, yeah, we get it now, we're okay to talk about this or not, and it's their loss.
You want to talk about community?
Yeah.
What is community? What brings it together? What's important about it? How do you do right by the community? How do you engage a community? What is a community? Gosh, that is something that I'm so curious about myself. But I feel it. And I felt it ever since I sort of got into crypto. I think that was the first time where I felt myself drawn to like an online community of people. I played video games when I was a bit younger, and, I did stuff that took me to the internet in all these, obvious ways, but I never really sought out community on the internet. I had my career, I had my passion, I had family in my life, I had love, I had all these things. So I didn't really need to go to the internet for something. But then once I discovered Bitcoin, and it wasn't just Bitcoin, when I got into space in 2017, I think like a lot of other people, like I was trying to figure out the upside to Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's Bitcoin, and then there's this other thing, this Ethereum thing. Okay, well, what's the better Ethereum? Oh, okay, there's that. Oh, what's the better that? And that takes you on this crazy journey
where you're just weaving in and out of all these different things. I was there for the ICO collapse. I mean, I didn't know what the heck was going on, but that was my first introduction to community, like groups of people that would come together and share this sort of like secret information and talk. And then you become friends and you're kind of growing relationships and you're trying to all build stuff, but you're, thousands of miles apart and no one really knows what anyone really looks like because it's like avatars. And then all of a sudden you're doing like meetups, I started going to meetups and I'm like, wow, this is like really, really special and really cool. And this is something that only the internet could provide, and then when you, I think, put meaning into it, you put something of value, something that has deep personal value to you, I think the value is like, we want to see the unbanked banked, we want people to have free money. We want to protect our life force energy, and find a way to help other people protect theirs. We don't believe the debasement of currency is a good thing for the world. You start putting you have these values, these shared values. It's like, it's the most remarkable thing, I mean, I just look forward to every day, seeing what, new amazing little insight like Punter Jeff has posted up or Ben Workman or, what new podcast you're about to post or, what, funny little retort, Rai Quant has and or what amazing new, thing strategy is done in the space and what Dylan LeClaire and Simon are doing and everybody's building. And it's like the community that I've found because of the internet and because of Bitcoin is become like one of the most valuable things outside of my family, outside of the work that I love to do and the sense of purpose I have. It's just become the best part of my day, and I just couldn't imagine life without that. And I think being able to combine community with passion and purpose, it's like, that's a winning formula, and I feel like a lot of people may be stuck in this old paradigm of like, I want to be X, so I need to do, Y, and then that'll get me to Z. And I mean, I think it's just so different. And community can be such a brilliant place to create. I tell a lot of my coworkers about this. I'm like, what do you love? I'm like, I love Lakers basketball. It's like, fantastic. You should be thinking about creating something about Lakers basketball. It's a podcast, if it's a, newsletter, maybe you're going to do some kind of like little animated series where you pull together some friends and, raise a little money and do some crazy little animated episodes or something like, if you're a creative person, if you want to create, you just go to the people that like the same stuff you do. You can find them now, and you can even like niche down so deep. At Netflix, they would call it like taste clusters, these like little tiny taste clusters, like things. It's a really kind of off-putting name, but it actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. Clustering together little tastes, so like serial killer Christmas films, set in, period, it's like, okay, that's a very specific, taste cluster. But I think it's content creators, people that are like, hey, I want to make stuff. I want to find an audience, well, that used to mean one way of doing it. That was one very specific way. And now there's just a million ways, but it is about really, really focusing first on the thing that you love, and then reaching out to that community and rallying around them, saying like, how can I be of service? How can I contribute? That's my strategy, at least. And so far, it's just been so rewarding. Getting to work on the conference is so fun. I mean, it's all of the same stuff I would do for other people and other projects that, maybe I walked away from that stuff not necessarily feeling like, oh, okay, this is the coolest thing ever. I'm like, hey, that was a great job and I had a great team, but not really something I would really watch, or not really something that is like deeply important to me. Whereas like this conference, I'm like, these are the people that I admire. These are the people I look up to. And now I'm getting to help contribute create a platform, a really special, platform for them to be able to share this incredible information with the world. And maybe it's going to look really cool, and maybe it's going to be like something super memorable that we maybe get to come back and do, a couple of times a year. I mean, man, sign me up. I'm so excited about that. And look, at the same time, I'm producing a Western. I'm actually producing and directing like a Western later in the year. And, I have more traditional media projects in the pipeline that we're working on and building. But, this is a space where I get to actually create stuff that I so excited about, and stuff that I would totally watch. The Tim Kotzman Show is a show I would watch. Why? I totally would watch that show. I just think it's so fun and so funny, and so I'm like, oh, great, let's just go make it. It's really cool.
You're saying you can just do things?
I guess so. I didn't know that. It sounds ridiculous, man. But I just didn't. I didn't know that. I came up in a world of like gatekeepers. If you wanted to sell a television show, and I started trying to sell shows when I was 27 years old. I started a company with a partner, and we were like, let's just go start shooting. We're going to start shooting and developing television shows. And so that's what we did for 4 years. We had an agent, we had a manager, we had a business rep, and we started putting together shows, and we got 2 pilots. And, in the first year we got 2 pilots, and I was like, this is easy. This is the easiest thing in the world. Well, the pilots don't go. And then for the next 2 years, you're pitching 100 shows and nothing's going, and you're just constantly deficit financing every single idea, every single project. And it just doesn't go. And, sometimes you would get 7 or 8 yeses in a row, and then the 9th is a no, and it's dead. And that's it. Your idea is gone. It's over. And sometimes it's an idea that maybe only 2 or 3 networks want to watch or would want to air. So if you get a no from them, there's no more yeses. There's nowhere else to go. So the idea of just making stuff, it sounds crazy, but it's very foreign. And I'm just in the last, couple of years been waking up to like, yeah, let's just go make it. Let's see what happens. Let's go shoot 10 episodes of the Tim Kotzman Show. We'll just platform them one after the other.
Direct distribution.
Straight to the, very straight in the vein, just get it out there to the world as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. Where can people connect with you?
I'm on X at Los Angeles Hodl is my handle. I have a website, ONEBIGPARTY.co, and you're going to see us at the conference. You're going to see us around. We're filming a documentary with True North right now about strategy, and the trade of the century is what it's called. And we're going to be shooting that here for the foreseeable future. So you're going to see us around with cameras, and we're going to be up in it. We're going to be up in everyone's space, just filming, making, creating, platforming, releasing, distributing. We're going to be out there.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. Thanks. We'll see how it goes.
Thanks for sitting down today.
Dude, thank you for having me. This chair has hosted a lot of important butts, so the fact that mine is in that lineage is pretty fantastic. Thank you, Tim. That means a lot.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Arch Lending, the premier provider of crypto-backed loans designed for both individual and institutional investors. At Arch, your digital assets work for you without selling them. Arch offers flexible loan options tailored to your needs. Backed by industry leaders like Morgan Creek Digital, Castle Island Ventures, and Galaxy Ventures, Arch Lending is setting a new standard in crypto-backed lending. Are you ready to unlock the potential of your crypto assets? Visit archlending.com to learn more and configure your loan today. Are you looking for comprehensive analytics on corporate Bitcoin adoption? Strategy Tracker delivers real-time insights into how companies are executing their Bitcoin strategies completely free. Monitor NAV premiums, cost basis performance, and track how corporate Bitcoin treasuries perform against the market. Upgrade to premium for just $3.99 a month and unlock exclusive benefits like detailed market rankings, real-time trading volume analysis, and advanced performance metrics for corporations embracing Bitcoin. Apply code KOTZ at checkout for 100% off your first month of premium. Strategy Tracker is your essential tool for measuring the effectiveness of corporate Bitcoin strategies. Visit strategytracker.com and gain the analytical edge in understanding the Bitcoin treasury phenomenon.